So guys, it's the night before Thanksgiving. In the last video, you saw we figured out what was wrong with the drift trike. Thankfully not a blown motor, but pretty darn close. Not really though, but. So, you guys may remember this thing. First ever go-kart I tried to build. Today we are going to be disassembling it and taking it apart because we're going to use the metal and everything else for the next design of this. So this was my original version. It was going to be a trophy truck, as you guys remember, but I decided to change gears because I think I have something a little bit cooler planned. Some of you guys might hate it, some of you guys might like it, but I'm going to do it either way. So I'm going to go ahead and do a time lapse of me cutting this up, and then I'll get back to you guys.
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out cause you kept cutting the cord, and I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes.
Alright guys, so frame is all cut up and it's ready to be recycled. I left these together because I'll be cutting them off tomorrow. I just didn't feel like cutting them off tonight because it's like 8 something and I'm tired. But I have an idea for these heim joints, and I have a bunch more that I'll probably end up using. It's nice to have that frame cut apart because now I can park the go-kart in here overnight so it won't get rained on, and I don't have to worry about cutting all that apart in the rain tomorrow. So I will pick up tomorrow morning, guys, and I'll just jump cut to then because I don't really have to do an outro or anything. So I'll see you guys tomorrow when we start laying out the frame on the floor. And unlike last time, this time we're gonna make sure it's square and it's good. And I'm also gonna go ahead and clean these ends up tomorrow because there's no need for those to stay on there. They're not needed. So on that note, I will see you guys in the morning. Alright, good morning guys. It is Thanksgiving Day, or day 2 of the racing lawnmower build. Yesterday we said goodbye to the trophy cart frame, and now we're going to get started on saying hello to the racing lawnmower. There's a few things I gotta take care of. My little brother's gonna come out and help me film and move stuff around today. First order of business, I need to find a spot for the go-kart because it's raining. It's raining and I don't want to get the motor wet, so I'm probably going to have to find a cover and just stick it outside. But let's get moving. Alright guys, so I look a little bit ridiculous. I know I'm wearing my welding visor, but it has a grind setting. So if you look here, from yesterday, me cutting stuff off, I left a lot of material on here. What we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and cut all of that off right now. And my little brother's behind the camera. Super thankful for him filming today. Thanks, bud. But I'm going to go ahead and get all the big stuff off, and then I'm going to have him come in with the orbital stander, and then he's going to get all the rust off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright guys, so Landon's over there sanding the metal so I can get a clean weld to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all the tubes and brackets off of this piece, and then we should be ready to start assembling the frame. So, I've been thinking through something real quick, and I want to use these lawnmower wheels and tires to keep the aesthetic. And these are the tires off of the Yerf Dog, the original tires and wheels off the Yerf Dog. Now, the Yerf Dog had the spindles replaced, so these are the old spindles off it, but they look usable, so I want to reuse these on the Yerf Dog. So I'm going to go ahead and Race lawnmower, that's what we're gonna call it. But if you come in here, so come close, and you try to just fit this on, the first issue you see is this rubs right on the rim, which is not good. And the second issue you see is there's a lot of play. But this has the threads on it that I want. And this is just a cotter pin setup, which I don't like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna combine the two. So I'm gonna cut this spindle off right about here, and I'm gonna cut this off, because all this is a bolt welded on. So I'm gonna cut this off either in front of the bolt head or behind it, and I'm going to essentially put this piece that goes in the wheel on this spindle. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to cut this spindle at this longer line here, and I'm gonna weld the threaded end of this bolt onto there. So I'm gonna use that, and I'm gonna keep it straight using this piece of angle iron here, just like this. So that way everything's nice and flush. So if you look in here, you can see that just by placing it in this angle iron, everything is gonna line up and be flush, and I can rotate it and weld it. So I'm gonna cut these two things and weld them up, and then my little brother's gonna finish sanding the other piece for the frame. So that way we'll be able to get the frame welded up, hopefully, or tacked at least, and we'll also be able to get the spindles done today. So that's gonna be awesome. Alright guys, so I just finished up welding the spindles. That one's hot. That one's hotter. Oh my god. Okay. So I just finished welding up the spindles. If you come in close, you can see that we added the threads on. We took the center pieces that fit onto our wheels for our tractor. And then we also have the go-kart, I'm just going to call them like fly ears or something. I don't know. I don't know the technical term, but it's what your steering bolts onto. So as you can see, we now have a piece that fits in. I don't have the spacer on there yet, so it still rubs on the rim, if you can see that, which we'll fix. I'll add a spacer. So not only will the spacer fix that, but the spacer will allow us to actually tighten down. And if you can see, the threads aren't where they need to be, so it allows us to tighten down the threads to where they need to be, so that way the bolt will or the nut will actually lock it in. So we need a fairly decent sized spacer, touched it, to get us out to, I want about a 1/2 inch of clearance on each side. So we'll have to figure out a spacer there, but I'm gonna go ahead and mark where I need the spacer. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark where I need the spacer with a Sharpie, and then I'm gonna clean up my area, and then we'll start getting the frame mocked up where we want it.
Okay.
Alright guys, so wipe down is done. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab my journal. It's in my car right now, but in my journal I have notes on all the measurements that I want for this project. So I'm gonna pull that out, and we're gonna lay out the frame exactly the way we want it. And then we'll start cutting cross members, welding them in, and then this frame should be square by the end of this video. Alright guys, so frame is tacked in, we're square, double check for square, we are all set, which means we can start figuring out the rest of the frame. So front hubs, front spindles and hubs, rear axle, what we're going to do. I'm really debating between a solid live axle and reusing the trans axle off of the original, but we also need to figure out mounting locations for our engine. And we also need to figure out where the seat goes, fuel tank, battery, all things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to time lapse it because, again, I trust my tacks, but I'm still not gonna drop them. All right, so we have pulled the transaxle out of the old lawn tractor. We have the new frame for it here. And now we're just kind of testing it, see how everything fits. So I think I'm actually gonna have this frame sit way down in there, like this. And I'm gonna use the stock tabs, but I'm trying to figure out if I want this shifter to come out around here, because the shift pattern is weird. So I have it drawn up, but I'm gonna show you real quick. So right here is neutral, which is forward, backward instead of side to side. First is this way. Second is back over. Third is to the middle, down, over a little bit. Fourth is farther over. And then reverse is all the way that way. Or there's reverse. So if you come over here, it looks like this. So you have first, over to second, to the middle and down is third, and fourth, and then reverse is all the way over here. So because of how everything's on here, I'm trying to just figure out how I want to have the shifter located. But first I'm gonna have to pull this off and cut those tabs off. That way I can weld them onto here, and then I'm gonna have to take all the accessories off of this as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the frame back on the table and then start that. All right guys, so we tacked in another bar here. And the reason we did that is because we're gonna cut the frame right here and right here, because this section is actually going to be elevated above the axle, so that way we can keep, sorry, so that way we can keep everything low. Now the way we're going to do this, we are going to basically build, instead of 90 and over, we're going to build a 45 up and over. Now I haven't decided if I want to take some length out of this or not. I think I'm just going to keep it here, and I'm going to figure something out. I don't know that we have any more of this square tube, but we'll find out. But right now I'm going to cut this off, and then we're going to figure that out in just a second.
It's going.
Alright guys, so right here, as you can see, we've cut off our rear end of the frame. I've squared it up. I've got two supports now. And what I'm doing now is I'm getting some 45-degree braces in here. That way we can keep this project moving, and it'll give stability. I think this was actually for here. No, I don't know. Alright, so I'm gonna get these all welded up and I'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, so we now have the body for the mower, and as you can see, it's rusty. It looks absolutely awesome. So now we're working on mounting this up. Right now it's just held in place by wood. I just had Landon cut up two pieces. They're taped together, and we're going to mark the hole and drill them out. And then we'll be able to mount this guy, and he'll be just sitting on the frame. Alright guys, so I got these tabs all welded up, so now our body is almost in place. I still need to figure out mounting for the front. But in the rear I have both the pieces capped off, so I'm gonna finish those down with a sander, and that way we'll be able to weld on our 45s so we can get the frame up and hopefully the rear axle on by tonight. Let's see what happens. Alright guys, so I just finished welding up the frame. I got everything welded completely around. Well, I know my welds are not the prettiest, they are strong. So, now I am centering and mocking up my rear transaxle, axle. And what I've decided to do about the shifter is to make it come out to the side and then up to beside your leg. That way it's natural to shift if you've driven stick before. So I'm going to start mocking up the transaxle, and hopefully the transaxle will be ready to go tonight. Alright guys, so I have the frame all jacked up. I have welded in the mounting brackets, and now the transaxle is officially all in place, ready to rock and roll. I'm going to put some braces on it a little bit later, but right now I want to test fit our engine. Now this engine is super heavy, and I don't want to lift it by myself, so I'm going to use the engine crane just to get it up and onto the table, because I have access to one, and I think it's just something fun to do. So wow, it's a big motor for a go-kart. It's been a while since that motor's been in a frame. I mean a while. Alright guys, so I use the engine crane to pick up the motor. So there's the engine crane. I use that to pick up the motor and pop it inside, just that way I could get a reference on where it's going to be inside. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the base of it, or the face of it on, or the face, like the front lip area. That way I can get the motor position finalized. Oh, it's sketchy. Oh, it's nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh. Alright guys, so that's going to finish up this episode of the racing lawnmower build. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun getting this far, and we made it really, really far today. And today was only one day. So, I'm super excited to see how much farther we can progress along in this journey. And if you guys like the video, give it a like. And if you want to see more, subscribe, turn those notifications on. That way you know every time I upload a video. Other than that, I will see you guys next time when we tackle the front axles, or the front spindles and wheels, and then hopefully we'll be able to put this thing on the ground.